So the next thing that we're going to want to do is be able to put multiple copies onto here. And the way that we'll do that is by setting up another loop in here. So we'll put a for each loop down. And this time we're going to change how we set this up. So this will be by count, which will allow us to set a certain number of iterations. For now, I'm just going to put that to 3. And then I also want to get us a meta import node for that as well. And we can separate the colors here just by selecting all of this and pressing C, and I'll color this kind of a blue color here. So I will call this, let's see, iteration meta. And so we'll use this to get an additional random seed so that every time that we put a piece of geometry down, it doesn't show up in the exact same spot. So in order to pass this into here, all we need to do is just wire this straight into here and then enable that. So we're going to dive back inside here, and what I'm going to do is copy this and paste it. And we will call this, well, let's see, maybe this should be called Greeble iteration. What I want to do is, if we're going to change that, I'm just going to copy this here, because once I change what that's called, it's going to screw a few things up. So let's just copy that expression, and just to make it a little more clear, that will be called Greeble iteration, and we'll just label that. You see, once the name of that parameter changed, well, that's ready to be called iteration. So where are we looking at here? Greeble iteration. Let's go ahead and paste that back in there. There we go. And now we have this other one called iteration as well. So we'll call this just main iteration. Now I'm just going to paste the same thing, except this has to change. So let's look at what that's called. That's called iteration underscore meta. So let's just change that, call it iteration meta. Go back in here, and I'm simply going to add these values together to give us a brand new random seed each time the iteration is run. So I'm going to press add, and we're just going to insert right in between there, and then just add these two together. And so now we see that we're getting a random value for every single time this thing needs to be placed. And it should be doing it for scaling as well. Let's just make sure that's actually happening. We can further randomize this. I'm just going to actually multiply it by some huge number here to make sure our offset is kind of a big one. So I'm just finger mashing the keyboard. And let's see how that goes. That might be okay. Just going up. Excuse me. Let's take a quick look here and just play with our randomness values and our scale values here. Okay, as a start, that's looking decent. So I think the next thing I want to do here is to start looking at how to put different objects here, because right now we're only copying the same object over and over again. So we need to look at how to do variety and start to add some complexity into this. Yeah, there's some additional controls as well we might want to add, but for now, let's just keep moving forward. We'll just add the controls for different objects. So again, I'm going to just go up here. We're going to save this, save the node type, save our file, move on to the next step.